once, only once. ಒಮ್ಮೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತೋ ಅದೇ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು.
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ
So we can hear till here. Okay. So ಈಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ. We given them one card. We started here. We are going to hear ಆ ಕಾರ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಬರ್ದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. I thought in his. I thought she is in kitchen.
I thought she is in kitchen.
I saw a cat in the kitchen.
I saw a cat eating in a kitchen.
I saw a cat eating in the kitchen.
I saw a kitten eating in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating in the kitchen.
We began with, I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. Okay, so this is a just game about communication and listening skills, activities. Okay, thank you for. Can you just please be aware of your team name? The name is Prakriti. Please group 2 also should come. Group 2 has named themselves as Nisarga. You're being very loud, sir. You're being very loud. You have to whisper. It's a whispering game. Very well. So you all remember what you're told. So we'll hear from sir.
Surely sunshine soon.
We surely sunshine soon. We surely see sunshine soon.
Surely see sunshine soon.
We surely see the sunshine soon.
We surely see sunshine soon.
We surely see sunshine soon.
Surely see sunshine soon.
So they've been very methodological in their approach. It says, we surely shall see the sunshine soon. But more or less the model plan. Very well coordinated. Be aware of this team. There's going to be round 3, round 4 and day 3. Be wary of all of them. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, very well done. Thank you. I request group 3 to please come on stage. So you have to whisper, man. You're being loud. Yeah. And distracting others from listening. Now you have to whisper.
Only one time. Mugit. One time.
Once. ಏನ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊತೀರಾ you have to pass it on. Right, sir.
Fire brands on the fire.
Fire plant.
Fire brands on the fire.
Fire brands on the fire.
My friends and
My friends on the fire.
my friends. My friends.
Five friends same.
My friends are very curious.
Four curious friends found for phone.
Curious friends found for the food.
Furious friends fought for the
It is actually four furious friends fought for the foe. But anyway, so thank you so much. Please remember your groups. The reason why we had this activity is because this whole session is going to be
this low pressure in Bay of Bengal. The news is that delivered forecasted from the IMD predictions was like we had more low pressure regions in Bay of Bengal Sea than in Arabian Sea. So can any one of you tell me the reason why it could be that Bay of Bengal region is actually experiencing higher depressions than the Arabian Sea? So it's just a climatic phenomena and also some physiographic factors that actually influences this. So basically what's happening is we have the sea surface. The sea surface area is accepting a lot of radiation from the sun. So there's a sea surface temperature. And we have the east coast that is actually feeding in a lot of fresh water. We have rivers that are flowing to the east coast, much higher in number when compared to the west coast. So these fresh water can also accommodate more amount of radiation into them. And so thereby whenever there's this fresh water that's entering the sea, it is actually increasing the surface of the sea, the top level of the sea water. And there's a lot of phenomena that goes behind. So mixing up and churning of this cold and warm water is actually creating some low pressure area in the region. And that's how we are having higher cyclones or higher such tornadoes are happening in the Bay of Bengal region when compared to Arabian Sea. That's because the feed to Arabian Sea is also limited. We have very few rivers that actually enter the Arabian Sea. So that's one of the reasons. But of late, we are also getting the news that we have more such events occurring on Arabian Sea, and that's mainly because of the climate change. That's what the expert says. That's because the glaciers are melting and the fresh water that are available in our glaciers are actually moving into the sea. And this is how we have more fresh water inputs into our Arabian Sea also. And that's how the temperature is varying and indirectly leading for such untimely cyclones, which was rather less seen earlier than now. So this was just a backdrop to just link why that we have less attendees today. So I'll continue with some of the activities that we actually can relate to and daily activities that we actually see every day and how we can actually link all of this to various aspects of environment, climate, and I'll also provide with a brief discussion on the basics of environment, climate, and climate change. So the objective is the same thing, so that we have a very diverse participants here. So in order to cater to all of you, I'm going to talk all the basics of it too. But I want to keep it more participatory. I want inputs from you so that we can carry over the discussion. So before starting, I'm sure every one of you had breakfast. So the first thing you saw over the counter was this, mostly a typical breakfast that's served in South India, I think. So can any one of you tell what are the ingredients that goes into preparing this?
Black gram.
Okay,
Plus black.
that's nice. Can you just recognize what this crop is?
Black tea. Green gram.
Yeah, it's some sort of a pulse, but I'm sorry, it's not.
Green gram or black gram?
Yeah, it is black gram, the urad dal that goes into making vada. So in fact, we use the resources like we know that it is urad dal that's made use for making the vadas, but we're not able to recognize from where it comes. I'm sure I feel like it's a easy.
Tomato.
Yeah. So there are few things that that we can learn through everyday activities about our environment, and so we also understand that there are several aspects about the water requirement by several food products that we consume. You're not able to see. So this is a chart which is going to, it's just illustrating the average water requirement for various food products. So most of our vegetables that we consume is the one that actually consumes very less water. While if you are a non-vegetarian and who prefers to have meat, and most of the inputs that we get from this meat production is actually requiring the highest amount of water that is required to get about a kg of meat when compared to a kg of vegetable.
For this one, for cooking or what?
No, just the raw material, the production alone. So when you look at the water footprint, it's nothing but the amount of water that's consumed for every product that is being delivered. So it's much larger than what we think. So as an individual, if it's not just the amount of water that is consumed for your daily activities, like for taking shower or washing clothes, or the amount of water that you use for cooking, but it's also dependent on what sort of lifestyle you try to lead. That's what we have been hearing the experts talking from morning. So the kind of lifestyle, the food that you consume, or the clothes that you wear, or the transportation that you feel like taking today is what is going to contribute to the amount of water or the resources that's being used. So the chart here says that a meat eater can actually consume more water resources. So his average water footprint is much higher when compared to a vegan or a vegetarian. Similarly, it's just not water. We have several other activities and several other resources that we use. So we will have an exercise or an activity that will help us in estimating how much of carbon that we actually generate as an individual through all the activities that we perform every day. So this is an activity that will be done in the afternoon session, which will give you an approximate amount of how much of carbon that is being generated by you as an individual. So it is going to make use of all the resources like the electricity or the water that you consume on an average basis, the food preferences that you make, if you have a pet or not, your local and outside travel, the way you want to travel within the city or out of the city, and all the goods and services that you have made during a particular period. So this is a carbon footprint estimation that will tell you how much of carbon that you as an individual is generating. This particular presentation is going to jump from one topic to another because it's a vast area that is covered under this topic. So we want to discuss a part of environment, climate, and how climate change is happening. So you might not find a proper transition between one slide and another, mainly because of that. So over the few decades, we have seen that there's a shift in all the weather patterns. But do you notice there's anything wrong in this sentence? Over a few decades, we see shift in weather patterns. Not the grammar, but as a sentence, a climate pattern. Exactly. So we are not talking of weather. Weather is a phenomena that is a very time bound, and let's see the difference. So weather is something which is short term. You cannot talk of decades and say the weather has changed or the pattern has changed. So we need to understand the basic difference of what a weather and climate is. So basically, weather is a short-term state of the atmosphere. All the variables in the atmosphere, that is what is shown by a weather, but then when the same thing is discussed over a very large period, a minimum of 30 years is actually required to say that whether climate has changed or not, or any change in the trend is happening or not, and that can actually be shown through climate. So climate is a long-term pattern of the weather, and a minimum of 30 years of study is required to say that there's a change in the climate. So geologically we know the earth is changing, evolving, and then these changes in the climate is actually natural. This is nothing that is not happening naturally, but it has been a natural process, and the earth has constantly changed its climate, and this is all because of the natural phenomena. It could be the radiation that's it's receiving from the sun, or some sort of a volcanic eruption, or a tectonic distortion. So there are several natural reasons that's actually causing the change in the temperature. But then why is it of so much of concern now?
Now it is harming us.
Okay, so changes in the weather did harm, huge, we lost a huge, there were few species that went extinct, so that's also a harm. But now that, as human beings, we are being impacted more, and we think of humans in the top of the list, and that's the reason I think most of us are concerned now. So I'll just talk about some of the global scenarios, how it is changing throughout the globe, and then I'll narrow it down to how things have changed, how climate has changed within Karnataka. So we've seen that a global average temperature have actually risen by 0.6 to 0.9. There are some regions which have shown extremely high temperature, and in some places the weathers in the cold season or the winter have dropped extremely low. So it's not even across the globe over. So such average temperature is between 0.6 to 0.9, but some parts you can see in Russia that there's about 9 degrees centigrade less in this region. So the similar is the pattern with the global precipitation. We see that the trend is generally decreasing, increasing over by 0.1 inches per decade. And India is no different. That is also witnessing a lot of change. There's a significant warming in the temperature around 0.7 degrees Celsius over the last one decade, over the last 1 century, and it has also seen a decreasing trend in the rainfall in some area, and some of the regions have also shown increasing trends, but most of them, especially in the Western Ghats region and the Indo-Gangetic plains, have shown a lot of decreasing in the trend of rainfall. However, we see that there are a lot of localized rains and high intensity rainfall, and that's happening less frequently. So the total amount of rain that was actually supposed to downpour over an entire monsoon period is actually pouring down just in 1 or 2 days. So that is what is the main cause that's impacting the or affecting the people. And when we come to Karnataka, we see similar observations. So both the minimum and the maximum temperature have increased all across the state, and I'm just going to show in the future slides how each of the districts have shown their changes. And the rainfall also, over the last 100 years, we have seen a declining trend, but over the last 1 or 2 decades, what we see is that this trend is changing. We have some very high, intense and low frequent rainfalls, but an average of that is actually increasing over the last 10 years. So this is a study done by IIC. This is an indication of how the temperature and the precipitation has changed from a baseline period. So whatever studies we say that the climate is changing. So on what basis do we say that the climate is changing? There has to be some baseline test. So the baseline that is kept for such analysis is the pre-industrial period. So 1800s for the industrial age, and any observations made from that time is what is considered for us to say that, or evidences that can give us, suggest that the climate has been changing. So this graphs here is actually showing us both the observed change in this region and also the predicted change over the future. So let's just focus on this. So these are the observed climate trends in temperature within Karnataka. So we see that there's actually a general increase in the trend in temperature and also in the precipitation. So the temperature trends over the last century, we've seen it's risen by about 0.4 degrees Celsius. But this is an average value. This could change from one region to another. Similarly, with the precipitation that we see, generally the trend is the observed changes that I'm talking of from the industrial to the existing period. We have seen a decline in the particular rainfall, but this decline is significantly seen not only in the coastal districts but also the northern districts of Bidar, Bijapur, Gulbarga and Yadgiri. So they have actually shown higher evidences of decline in the rainfall. So this is what is being projected. So once we understand what is the observed climate change, using all these observations, there are several organizations who are trying to work with projecting using the observed data set. So there are several global climate change models that can actually be used to predict how the scenario is going to change. And they have actually recognized 4 different scenarios. One is a low emission scenario where you're all very optimistic. Everybody is, trying to lead a sustainable life. Less carbon is given out from us. That's a very optimistic scenario where the emissions of the carbon or equivalent to carbon, any greenhouse gas equivalent to carbon, is emitted less. So in that case, what we see is majority of the districts within Karnataka is actually showing between 1 to 2 degrees Celsius increase in the temperature. So this is a very optimistic scenario, and this is done for 2030, so very immediate prediction. But when you go to a very high emission scenario where nothing is kept in control, there are extremely high carbon emissions from all our activities. In that case, we see that some of the districts like so there are few districts that are actually going to experience much higher temperature between 3 to 4 degrees Celsius when compared to the other districts. And similarly, there's a moderate emission scenario. This is called RCP 4.5. It's a representative concentration pathway, it's called as. So this is a model that will actually say that I'm emitting so much of carbon dioxide, and because of this, so much of temperature is going to increase, or so much of precipitation is going to change like that. So that's the general scenario. So when a moderate emission is something like taking an average or being too modest. Okay, I'm going to emit so much, this is what I can do. So much of carbon is emitted because of all the activities that we are doing. In that case, we see that the entire Karnataka is increasing by 2 to 3 degrees centigrade. But using for the same high emission scenario, majority of Karnataka, just excluding the part of coastal, going to experience more than 4 degree increase in the climate. And these are the projections that are made for precipitation or the rainfall. So basically India is dependent on monsoon, so the analysis is done for June, July, August and September. So we want to see how climate change is actually impacting the precipitation pattern. So interestingly, what we see is over the observed changes, we have seen that the rainfall has decreased by about 10%. That's what we saw in the earlier slide. But the projection, what indicates is that there's actually going to be an increase in the rainfall, and this could be not evenly throughout the season, but we will have more chances of high precipitation or high rainfall in shorter durations that is going to cause more disasters. So let's consider the shorter period 2030 for a moderate emission scenario. Majority of the northern Karnataka, Bidar, Gulbarga, Bijapur and Yadgiri, so they are actually going to receive much higher rainfall when compared to the other districts. And when you go for a higher emission scenario where your carbon emissions you are not able to control, then you can see majority of the northern Karnataka region are going to experience higher rainfall when compared to the southern. And these are the projections that is going to be for a longer time period. Say for instance, if similar carbon is being emitted and if no such control measures are taken, by 2080, half of the state is going to receive more higher rainfall in a shorter duration. And for a higher emission scenario, the entire northern Karnataka region are going to be having the havoc because of rainfall and flooding. So this is one of the scenarios of projecting how rainfall is actually going to change because of the carbons that we are emitting inside the atmosphere. Some of the common scenes that you can actually see. So this is not necessary if our rainfall is normal and it happens at certain duration, but it is not happening nowadays. You have very high intense, less frequent rainfalls that is resulting in flooding. So occurrence of high intense rains have increased over time. This is impacting all of us, including the food that we require for sustaining. So failing monsoons have massive hit to the farmers and the crops that is grown, and it's causing a threat to the food security. So we know what is causing it. Now we can't just blame it to climate change. What are the other factors that is actually causing it?
Anthropogenic activities.
Yeah, correct. Anthropogenic activities. So there are several. We as an individual can also contribute to it. And there are several big players like industries and hospitals and other sectors that are driving carbon into the atmosphere. So the major drivers are the land use change. We've seen a vast change in our land use from pre-industrial period to what we see now. Let's not consider even pre-industrial period, just consider over the last 10 years and imagine what's happened across your place or your region itself. There's a tremendous change in the utilization of the land across your area. A lot of encroachment, the forests are degraded because of purposed wood harvesting. You have forests replaced with the monoculture plantation mainly for the economic benefits. So several such land use practices have changed over time, and that is one of the major drivers for the changes in the climate. And because of this changes in the land use and other anthropogenic activities, we are actually feeding in a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So what exactly is the greenhouse gas? Sorry?
Carbon dioxide.
Okay, it is one of the gaseous component of greenhouse gas, but what are the benefits of having greenhouse gases and the impacts of having greenhouse gases? Can any one of you just say? We have one, yeah.
It will maintain the earth temperature. Some of the gases help to maintain the earth normal temperature. If it is increase the temperature more than the normal temperature, those some of the gases are identified which are emitting more to the normal concentration of the generation. Those are called as the greenhouse gases.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so greenhouse gas is something which is beneficial. We are all able to live on Earth only because of the presence of the greenhouse gas that will keep us, warm. So you're just staying inside this AC hall for 1 hour, we were telling them to just switch off the AC. So without the proper concentration of greenhouse gases, we might probably be freezing to death. So it is essential that there's sufficient of them, and how the land use have actually changed. I somehow did not find any statistics beyond 2014. We've seen generally the forest area, they say that the Forest Department or the Forest Survey of India statistics gives that the forest area is actually increasing. We are maintaining the green cover. But the green cover they talk is of all the monoculture plantation that is having minimal benefits to the environment. And we also see the net sown area is actually fluctuating. So depending on the amount of water that's available and all the facilities, like if the farmer is having sufficient money to feed in an additional irrigation or supplements to the crops, probably this is also going to change. So there's a huge fluctuation in all of the activities that's happening. If you just have a look at the fallow lands, the amount of area that is left without giving a chance for growing, so that's also actually fluctuating based on the water availability and the nutrient availability. Similar is the case, the second component which I discussed was the greenhouse gas. So we discussed what it is. It's a heat trapping gas. Some of the examples are the chlorofluorocarbons, the HFCs, SF6. So these are all some of the components that actually contributes to greenhouse gases. So we can understand what are all the anthropogenic drivers that are actually causing or emitting these greenhouse gases. So we all discussed several anthropogenic activities, so mainly because of the combustion of the fossil fuels. It could be deforestation or leakages from the pipelines, and also some of the agricultural practices that we follow. So addition of all the chemical-based fertilizers or the feeds that you give to your cattle. So these are all some of the anthropogenic drivers that is actually increasing the concentration of greenhouse gases. And when we talk of greenhouse gases, ma'am here said that it's carbon dioxide. So everybody with the greenhouse effect, and they are the meters more effective in absorbing all the heat trapping because of the solar radiation. So imagine just single nitrous oxide molecule can actually accommodate 265 times higher than a single carbon molecule. Similarly is the case with methane. It can absorb about 28 times more. It's more effective than the carbon molecule. So even if they are in smaller quantity, it has a huge impact on the climate. So increased concentration is causing this global warming. So we know it is an environmental issue now, and in addition to that, we have other issues like deforestation, the ozone depletion, solid waste management, and yeah, some of them have also quoted overpopulation, probably because humans have been actually exploiting a lot of natural resources, and that's also an issue. So there are several impacts that is happening because of it. And the main concern is we do not have time to even adapt to that. So the changes are happening more quicker than the plants and animal species are able to adapt to the change. So what are the effects of it? There are both slow onset and quicker impacts that we can actually see. So most of the sudden onsets that we see are the flooding events or the flash floods that you see or the cyclones. So that can actually happen very quickly and right in front of your eyes. But these slow onsets are something which is more challenging to tackle with. So the changing temperature or the rainfall pattern, the rise in the sea level, you may not be able to see all of this onsets immediately, but it does have a huge impact. So the sudden onset would be a heat wave or a tropical cyclone, a drought and a flood. So due to all of these impacts, we see that there's a lot of shift in the human population. There's migration that's happening mainly to adapt to the changes, and the people who are migrating are the most at the vulnerable. So in order to make certain commitments, all the global leaders have accepted to commit to some of the acts that have been taken place. So India has also made some commitments to cut down its carbon inputs to the atmosphere. So in the Paris Agreement, it has agreed that by to reduce its emission by 2030, compared to 2005 levels, it's going to reduce down by 30 to 35%. And it's made sure that 40% of all its electricity is generated from non-fossil fuels. And there are some tree plantation programs. And more recently, it has submitted its NDC under this agreement, showing that it is going to reduce its emission by 45% by 2030, and it wants to achieve 50% of its electrical supplies from the non-fossil fuel. And it has also propagated a healthy and a sustainable way of living based on all the traditional values of conservation and moderation through this movement that Sir was also discussing about. It's called Lifestyle for Environment. So this is what India has committed to, and I think this is what we are also supposed to commit to, as to live more sustainably and to contribute less to the impacts of, to the carbon that's been emitted to the atmosphere. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Shruti, like.
Yeah, small art is bigger, audible. Okay. Yeah, I'm working in university, Bangalore University, Environmental Science. So I came here for the last session, the last batch a week back. So as advised by CEE people, that like I will speak without PPT. Okay, so that's it's a lunch time. I don't know how much you are attentive. Huh? How long time you can listen? It's also important. As per the research, is something one can consider only 40 minutes at a stretch. Then mind goes somewhere else. Then again it comes back. So I don't know that this is the last session and the lunch session. I don't know that's how much you can concentrate and how much you can remember. So can we talk about 30 minutes?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Madam? Yes. It's okay. Okay. I will just quickly give the some kind of, because this is a multidisciplinary team here. Is sitting in the top. Some are from life science, some are from chemistry, some are management, some are social science. A purely multidisciplinary audience are in this group. So you just see the environment in general. Okay. What is environment as per the Oxford Dictionary? Surrounding. Science means a systematic study. Systematic study of your surrounding. Is there any boundary for this surrounding?
No.
Then it stretches to planet Earth, universe, entire universe. That means everything is connected, everywhere it is connected. Don't think that's like how my behavior, whatever, my actions to the nest surrounding your house or something. No, it's globally connected. That's why we are all talking about climate change. Greenhouse gas release next to you, it's something harming Arctic regions, Antarctic regions. Not only you. The plastic you dispose here is seen in the Arabian Oceans, Antarctic Oceans. A NASA satellite picture has shown that kilometers together plastic in the ocean bottom. How it has gone? That means that like everything is connected, everywhere it is connected. So environment studies, all of you are thinking about, it's so simple and so easy, no? It's what the students thinking. Faculty also thinking. No, it is very, very complex science. It's very difficult to comprehend and understand in 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years. Daily keep things changing. It's a dynamic process. Environment is a dynamic process. It's not in our hand. Like whatever you discover, whatever you practice, that will be outdated tomorrow. You will come across new challenges every day. Okay, that's something environment, society, and what about the governance, ESG? That something is a whole kind of business model which is coming about ESG or whatever, so many things. So, what is ecology? You understood about environment sciences. What is ecology? They one step specific. You heard about ecology?
Interaction.
Yeah, it's just an interaction. Means that, like in ecology, there is a living organism needed. Okay, living organism is essential. In environment science, you may be studying the abiotic atmosphere. That is an environment. But in ecology, when you say that the living organism must, it may be plants and animals and be human being. So how our interactions with abiotic or biotic, whatever it may be, interaction comes in pictures, very specific ecology. Then one more word is coming in today's world, in every discussions, even in business and commerce. That word is ecosystem. System word is coming there. That's very catchy and everyone is crazy about ecosystem now. Even business ecosystem, they are using the word. Okay, quite oftenly they are using. They are not using, earlier they were using environment. Okay, now then they were using ecology. Now everyone is crazy about ecosystem. Okay, everyone is very quite oftenly they are using this ecosystem. What is this ecosystem meaning?
They think that
Tansley discovered this word in 1937. Okay, A.G. Tansley. That's long back. That's commonly used in biology. Okay, botany or zoology. So what is this ecosystem? It's very specific.
they think that it is. They think that it might be the other ones who are not really knowing about the ecosystem.
No, you just
who are using,
come to this word of system. System,
Yeah.
okay, system.
Yeah,
What
they
are the
think
what
that
are
it is a
the
place of survival.
what are the basic ABCD things
Yeah.
should be there in a system? One is missing, then system is not functioning.
It's all about balancing.
What is that ABCD things? The system.
Interaction.
You see that you heard about biomes, tropical biome, tundra biomes. Okay, all these biomes you heard about. Then that includes regional biomes, subbiomes. That includes the landscape. Landscape includes ecosystem. Hierarchy, you see that. Whole global map, no? Biomes, subbiomes, or regional biomes. Then landscape. Landscape will have ecosystems. Okay, it may be an agriculture ecosystems, or river ecosystem, or maybe grassland ecosystems, or forest ecosystems, urban ecosystem. Everything is system. When you say a system, there are some defined things to be there in the system. Energy flow mechanism should be there between and across ecosystem. Okay, nutrient flow mechanism should be there between and across ecosystem. There should be a defined biotic diversity should be there. That means the concept of food chain. Pattern of being eaten, no? You have seen in the school textbooks, the frog, whatever that's grasshopper to toad to snake. If one is missing, then that will become food web. Chain. There should be a defined food chain. Nutrient flow, energy flow, biotic diversity, food chain. One is missing, then something system will collapse. That's why everyone is using this word. It's a very, very balanced system where there are defined mechanisms are functioning within the system, across the system. That's why if you see in this AECC syllabus, no, ecosystem is there. That's why now people are talking about ecosystem services. Everyone is crazy about estimating ecosystem services of different ecosystems and trees and something like that. Okay, so you got a clarity and the idea about what is environment, what is ecology, what is ecosystems. Then come back to this whole concept of discipline. Environment science, can we call it as a discipline on its own? In the multidisciplinary ACC, the first one is multidisciplinary nature of environment science. Unit 1. All the degree college teachers and they were aware about it. What is a discipline then? Yeah, I will give an example because I don't have much time to talk about, like Newton theory of gravitation. It's something like concept of physics, phenomena of physics, theory of physics. Can anybody, other discipline can claim this? So physics the discipline is the one which having a long history. A physics or a chemistry or a biology, 300 years, 400 years of history. A lot of discoveries have happened in that. Then come to this interdisciplinary. A knowledge among these two disciplines taken together, taken out to find out some solution or discover certain things. A discipline alone is not possible to come out of understand the particular thing. Like DNA discovery in 1940s. What is that? Watson and Crick. One is a chemist, one is biologist. Both together has been given the Nobel Prize for discovery in DNA. Neither chemists alone cannot do that. Biologists alone cannot do that. The concept is something like two people came together in 1940s and 50s. So then this concept of environment science came in pictures. Then that's why we are calling it as a multidisciplinary. Only in 1972 when Stockholm Conference happened. Okay, 1972, United Nations Conference on Environment. So that's the beginning of environmental sciences. They've called it as a multidisciplinary subject. It's not a subject of any one person or one subject, one discipline. What is under sun, everything is environment. All disciplines are connected. That is a multidisciplinary. In US, if you go to Europe, there's a main environmental sciences they're giving degree. Some university MSc in environment science they give. Some universities environmental management, some commerce they will give a degree. Engineering they give environmental engineering. Everyone is okay. They are looking environment in a multidisciplinary context. That much connected with other disciplines. You cannot separate it out and claim that it's a discipline on its own. It's comprehensive of everything. Okay, you have to look at this environment in a holistic manner. So you understood about how complex it is. That is the multidisciplinary nature of this subject. It's something like you have to understand this first, and then you have to teach to the students. Then what is the climate change? Okay. Then there are so many things are there in AECC. Biodiversity is there, natural resources there, and so many other issues which are connected, which is given as a fundamentals. That know the history of this, how this whole discipline started in India. So the MC Mehta, he went to the Supreme Court in 1994, and he has told that it's like all the environmental things have been taught only in the school level. Nothing is there in the college level. Then the Supreme Court gave directions in 94 to UGC. They took almost a decade to frame a environmental studies curriculum for the graduation. Then the Indian Constitution came in pictures. Then computer science came in pictures. These are all the essential things which came in pictures. So, however, these universities have not seriously taken this issue, and government of India has not taken this environment so seriously. Why? But if you look at this Indian Constitution, whatever it is drafted, which is comprehensively not cover the environmental issues in the beginning. Only this Indira Gandhi attended the 1972 Stockholm Conference. Then after she came back to India, she has immediately the Wildlife Air Act, 1980. 1980 Air Act, 1974 Water Act, 1980 Forest Conservation Act. Okay, even 1972 Wildlife Act. All these four important acts were framed before Umbrella Act. But once the Pollution Control Board is established, Water and Air Act have been pulled into Environmental Protection Act. But the Wildlife and Forest Act were kept outside with so many reasons. Okay, so many bureaucratic reasons, policy reasons, and so many other reasons. I don't want to go in detail into that. So then all this kind of waste management rules came. Okay, solid waste management rules, plastic waste rules, hazardous waste rules, biomedical waste rules, and so many things came, which are all included in the Environmental Protection Act. Okay, this is the something background about the policy aspects with something in Indian situation which started only in 1970s, 80s. Some kind of initiatives happened. That's the history of that. Then come to the recent concepts. Madam was talking about the climate change before my talk. Please tell me what is climate change in a very simple common man terminology.
Modifications in the temperature, increased temperature, changes in rainfall pattern.
Over a period of years.
You heard about greenhouse gases?
Yes.
Okay. What are those greenhouse gases? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Methane.
70% CO2. Okay. Then methane. 14%. Okay. 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 Then NO2, SO2. These are the 6 major greenhouse gases. How this kind of warming is happening?
They are trapped.
They're trapping heat, solar heat. the normal greenhouse gases will be there. What we're worrying about, enhanced greenhouse gases. Okay, there are more greenhouse gas percentage increasing. They're instead of releasing the heat, they're trapping the heat, solar radiation, and keeping that area warmer. Bangalore inside a 2 degree higher temperature. If you go outside Bangalore, you will feel relatively cooler because these concrete materials and all this kind of industries and vehicular pollution, the more greenhouse gas will be there. So that's in the climate change definition. They consider average temperature. They are not that's the only thing they've taken into warming temperature, average global temperature. How long did something like within a year or 1 year or 2 years? I think it's a very long period of time as per the IPCC. 30 years. Not like 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. If there is any significant change in the global average temperature over a period of 30 years, 3 decades, then it's referred as a climate change. Don't confuse with climate variability. What is variability? That is more important for an agrarian nation like India. We are more worried about climate variability rather than climate change. The nations of Arctic and Antarctic region, they may be more worried about climate change. More industrial nations worried about climate change, but we are worried more about climate variability. That means that seasonal changes, a shift in the rainfall, shift in the temperature, all these things are happening within season, across season. Sometimes farmer is sowing crops, too much rain will come. Sometimes harvesting, too much rain will come. So this mismatch, that intensity of rain and distribution of the rain. This is something referred as a variability. If you take 365 days rainfall, average rainfall, same. Sometimes. This year, the last year abnormal, previous year is also little abnormal. So normally that's like what you've seen in last 20, 30 years in Karnataka state is average is almost like matching. Only this last year rainfall is almost double. Okay, that is an abnormal, like that has happened once in 70 years, once in 100 years or something like that. That is the climate change and climate variability. So what is your role in climate change in this context? Finally. So everything now in today's context is boiled down into your role in climate change mitigation. Means individual carbon footprint or ecological footprint. How much you are saving this or reducing the greenhouse gas emissions usages. So the whole concept is now in the School of Environment Science and Ecology, even A3, some of my friends are there. The PhD students are from social science. They're coming and studying consumptions and lifestyle. They're like everything now boiled down into a consumption, human consumption and lifestyle patterns. This is something like what all you are in the room is sitting and talking about, and you may be thinking about like anything happens, any traffic, any pollution, anything happens. What you will say? Pollution Control Board not doing anything. BBMP is not doing anything. Government is secretariat, ecology secretariat is almost dead. Huh? Like all the times we are indulging in passing a comment and government is not doing anything and they are not enforcing any law, and that's something like we can't safeguard the environment. I say it is like now the role of individual is more important than the government. If you want to give any justice to reducing greenhouse gas emissions or environmental protections, as long as your individual is not changing his lifestyle and consumption patterns, you cannot give any justice to them. That's the most important. The role of individual is very important. When you go back to your college or university, please, you first start in the first class itself. You start these concepts. How when individuals can contribute themselves in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. The CEE people advised me come in we will send the vehicle and you can come here. I told that metro I will come. I can walk here and 10 minutes walk. I was some emission I have reduced. which was in my hand. Okay, instead of a taxi, I came by a public transport system, metro. Okay, what kind of activities in a daily life you are doing it? You take. Then come to the pedagogy techniques. How to attract this human mind, the students, about the environmental aspects within the house. How best you can do that? How best you can reduce this kind of natural resource or use of vehicles in your house. That is something is very, very important. Okay, so of course, you know the definition of sustainable development?
Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the
Future.
In future. Yeah.
If you see, okay, our common futures, the book which is submitted to this United Foundation, equity. Equity is the major thing. So, Brundtland is this former Prime Minister of Norway has been appointed as chairman to draft a report on the sustainable development in 1983. She took 3-4 years. In 1987, she submitted the report. And very that she has clearly mentioned that well, we can take action about this resource conservation today, intra-generation, or we can wait for. We can take action slowly. Means like one generation means how many years? 25 years. Okay, one generation gap between you and your children and you and your parents. In the definition, 25 years. So when you say finally the draft committee has an accepted intergenerational equity, so that the elected governments have time to take action about some kind of they can go slowly in bringing action to the exploitation of natural resources. So they have not touched the issue of intragenerational. Why? It's so difficult to bring in change today only or next year only. How? Why? You know this natural resource usages. You go to any schools and colleges and you ask that what is the most reason for degradation of natural resources? What they will tell school students? Overpopulation. Population is the most reason for environmental degradation. All of you in this hall agree?
Yes.
I disagree. I disagree. So 99% of the natural resource used by 1% of the rich people.
Yes.
1% of these resources are used by 99% of the poor people. Again, boil down to equity. Resource utilization patterns mismatches there. The old school of thought is population explosion the most reason. Yes, to some extent I agree. That's something like now people say that we need not to worry about 100 Indian born. We have to worry about 1 American born. Why? Because they are using that much natural resources. You won't find a single house without air conditioning in USA. You won't find. You won't find. So 95% they're using car. Their public transportation is almost like not entertaining. So that much natural resource they're using, that much emission is happening. That's why the history is, all of you are aware about it. Why Bush is not saying the Kyoto Protocol. Okay? So they were against, they were not believing the concept of climate change. Even France, UK and the Germany were not signed in the first stage. Then their series of negotiations have started. Then these 3 European nations have said, okay, no. We should believe the climate change concept. You should sign. They signed it. But USA hasn't signed. That's the politics of climate change. Okay, that's something political aspect of the climate change. And if USA is a part of the climate change, they have to change the lifestyle and consumption patterns. You're understanding? That's why the Kyoto Protocol, they brought in a very, very cleverly, conveniently, the concept of buying carbon credit from other countries. Okay, we are not reducing, we are not ready to close the industry in US and Europe, whatever US. But we will invest renewable energy projects or less emission related projects in Asia and Africa, and you will buy the CFC, okay, certified emission reduction certificates, carbon credit certificate from other countries. This buying carbon credit concept has been started. That is the politics of climate change. It went on for 2008 to 2012 in Kyoto Protocol. Then it's extended in 2020. Then Paris Agreement came in pictures. Then USA, that's Obama, was almost ready to sign the Kyoto Protocol. Unfortunately, lost the election. Then Trump came. He has scrapped everything about all climate change. He removed from the website itself when he became the prime minister or whatever presidents. Then now this another president is there, and he is not having that much kind of majority in both the houses. Now he is telling that yes, I am with the climate change. But when it's signing part of this whole process, then again they are taking time. This is a global thing, okay. But one thing is very clear: whatever the politics is happening in USA and developed whatever nation, one thing is very clear. So we have we have to individually contribute something for the climate change. Okay, that's something like now everything boiled down into individual. Come to your individual lifestyle in practice. You tell me that. So how to reduce this footprint, like carbon footprint? For any small things, if you want to go for an half a kilometers, you will take your bike. You can walk instead of taking a bike. If you want to go 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers, you will take a car. Instead of car, you can take a bike. You're reducing. Then you want to go back to some 50 kilometers, then there is a metro system or some common public transportation. Then again you will take another taxi or your own car. So that's something like you have to judge yourself in a daily routines, how much I am reducing it. If some countries have banned using a car by a single person. So Japan has banned sometime, some other countries have banned sometimes. Single persons, if they are using a car, tax. Is legally not allowed. So some countries have done that as a trial, some countries have done that and they changed it. Okay, Delhi is odd car, even car, the concept came. So then the people who are rich, they started buying a car which is different number, odd and even both. so this, whatever we do that, people are having that kind of cut short and they're not understanding. This kind of public transportations, that's the one issue. At a house level, how we can do that?
You can reduce.
Every house should have a rainwater harvesting system as per the law. But if you see the 90%, they are not functional. One that structure is there, pipe is there, but only one sump is there. When you ask them, they say that the sump is only BWST Kaveri water. Then structure is showing, plan is showing, everything for the taking permission and building a house. Rainwater harvesting structure, filter, everything will be there. Where it is connected, stormwater drain outside. You go to any houses, they have taken officially the permission from BWSSP to construct a house, rainwater harvesting plan. In someone inspection also comes, there is a separate pipes and filter, everything is there. When you ask them, only one collection storage sump is there. That is exclusively meant for Kaveri water. And in some houses, groundwaters, whatever separate pump is there. And they are asking, there is no place for constructing another sump for rainwater harvesting. So everything is there in the paper, but nothing in practice. I am part of a member of tree expert committee in the government of Karnataka, as constituted by the High Court. We are receiving hundreds and thousands of applications for cutting of trees. Every day. Okay, now in the Karnataka, in the Bangalore city limits, any tree cut, that has to come to the tree expert committee. And the chairman and 3-4 members in Agriculture University, me and IWST, some scientists are involved in that. That's something like nobody wants this. Sometimes this house person want a tree, but opposite house don't want a tree. They are fighting together because leaf is falling, branch is falling, is complaint. This fellow wanted to protect the tree. Opposite the adjacent building house is saying, sir, my compound was broken. All the monkeys are coming, snakes are coming in the branches. They are fighting. They're making resolution, they're submitting to the government, that comes to how to solve. There's a separate petition came, IASC friend, there are beautiful trees are there. IASC, no? That circle, there's 8 trees are there, no, in the road footpath. They wanted to make white apple. 8 trees are there. That's something like, they can do that by keeping the trees, but they want to cut the trees. Marama temple, okay, in front the Ficus religiosa is there, no? Very beautiful tree. They want to cut it and make a statue. We all committee decided, no, this is something like you can keep a statue beneath the ficus tree. It looks, it adds ambience to the whole thing. Otherwise, it looks like desert. No. Our minister has told that we have to construct this our Kempegowda statues in the center, and you have to remove the tree. If tree committee is not giving permission, we are going to cut it. No, I am just giving an example. Then some mango trees in the Bakery Circle, that in the median is there, no? After Bakery Circle, if you go to Jayamal, that tree is a beautiful trees, 8 or 9 mango trees. They want to cut it. So like this, if you take about sometimes this government is also colluded, community is also colluded. In some extreme cases are there. In Jayanagar, we are given permission to cut the trees, but that MLA of Jayanagar, who is that? Ramlinga Reddy's daughter. She comes and brings in all some 20-30 people and she protests, don't cut the tree. Even our order will be torn and thrown. Very exceptional cases. It's all because of this, some dedicated and concerned people. This citizen movement is very important. So this how this you have to maintain trees, garden in your backyard and front side. It's very, very important. Of course, you can't keep the ficus, it's break the foundations, it grows like a big tree. And whatever small trees can be garden can be maintained. So lot of waste will come from your kitchen. Kitchen waste is so nutritious that you can make it a vermicompost and you can use it for your garden. Or terrace garden or something like that. That is in your hand. Instead of putting that waste into a normal garbage, you can use it as a vermicompost. Okay, you are washing a lot of vegetables daily. After washing that, putting that water into a drain. Instead of that, use that water for watering some plants in the front or the backyard. That looks very simple, but are we doing it?
Implementation is different.
No, that has to come from individually. Individually, you should start thinking about it.
Very much.
You give the paper, okay. You have to fell the tree for cutting up the trees for making a paper. You know about all this kind of entire bamboo is removed in India for paper mills. Then the eucalyptus plantations are made and so many other plantations now. Now this is all digital and so many things are coming. Yes, paperless office we are talking now. Are you really doing that? Are you really safeguarding the paper? Because if you are using more paper means more trees will be cut. How judiciously are you using the paper? So like these consumption patterns. People saying that research knows that 1/3 of the food will be waste in the plate itself when they are serving in the hotel. In the marriage hall, 50%. Okay. So give something highly conscious. If you don't want, why you are ordering it? Why are you wasting it? Very simple. That's in your hand. That's in your hand. Even when people go to buy a banana of some 2 banana, 3 banana, they are asking, give cover, plastic cover. They can hold it and go, but still they are asking a cover, plastic polythene bag. Otherwise, they go to next stop. He will give a lecture, no, this government sub inspector came and he has banned and I have to, it's very difficult to get these plastic covers and something like. No. This is something like, we are unable to do that. So that's in Western countries, there are very strict rules. Bag cost will be, carriage cost will be very exorbitant. Okay. That's why they carry their own bags. So here, still that kind of political things and all these kind of illegal kind of things are happening. But as long as citizens are not aware and you are not started thinking on your own, things won't change. Whatever, how many workshops CEE does, things won't percolate down. It's all like mindset change. What CEE is thinking about is bringing some revolution changes in the mindset of the people. That's why just like we are all believing engineers, no? Like all youths, no? They believing engineering. Engineers will find solution for everything, no? Now, a decade back, people thinking like fossil fuel will be exploited and we won't have an alternative thing. Now, e-vehicles are coming. That is happening very rapidly. So down the lane 5-10 years, engineers what they think that hey, some other solution. Any engineers here? For everything they say that there is a solution. So that's something like the solution to the environmental sciences, environmental problem lies in the our society and mindset of the people. Once you could able to bring in change in the people attitude and mindset, that is a permanent change. Till the end of his life and his family, whatever, he keeps telling them. See, that's something like in this environmental education, okay, that environmental studies is something what is very important is you tell your students, at least let them start practicing certain things wherein that they can bring changes. That's what the need of the hour. If the school is there, go for a small garden. Okay, that's something you can teach them outside. I went to Vani school in Margay Road. They are teaching physics in the outside. They are teaching mathematics by measurements and all like in the outside field. There are some open schools in Bangalore city. Valley School is there in Kanapura Road and some four. There is no syllabus till 9th standard. Still you can learn and interact with teachers anytime they want. If you look at the student with something admitted, they are all NRI kids. They have seen the world. Okay, 4th generation students. They want like nature, environment. They want to learn by outdoor. That's why the Finland education model is something all of you are aware about it. You heard about it, Finland? Yes. New education policy? Yeah. Okay, please Google it and understand it. They are making a revolution. There is only one book till 10th standard. Oh. No subjects. All subjects in one book. We are all talking in Indian situation about new education policy, NEP and merging multidisciplinary, but they implemented 10 years back in Finland. Now all the countries' education ministers, chief ministers going to Finland and studying how they are doing it and implementing it. That's something like education tourism bringing more money to Finland now. Okay, they made a revolution. How student need not to carry books will be in the school only. Only one book. All subjects together they are teaching it. How you just imagine now. Here in botany, they're saying it's something zoology, environment science is my subject, sociology, they're saying it's also my subject. Each one is saying it's not related. We are indulging in all these things from last 25 years in India. Who has to teach environment science? That's becoming a big debate. Everyone can teach it if they have the understanding about the multidisciplinary nature of the subject. You should not indulge in keep fighting about like whose domain it is. It's a domain of every individual. That's only the message in the finally I can give it to you and I'm communicating you. It's something like I may be the professor, I cannot bring in changes in environment. It's every department and every teachers, every student has a role in it. Only CEE, yes, they're doing comprehensively. This everyone, if they realize their role and they contribute themselves in a simple way and reducing greenhouse gas emission and consumption of the resources, then good. Instead of keeping a 2 dozen saree, keep only a dozen. That you are contributing to the church. Instead of having so much minerals, gold and so many things, that's again is reducing the mining impact there. Instead of a cloth which is using of a multicolor, use a single color. Because if a more color means more dyes are used. Very simple. Instead of keeping more like a 2 dozen belt, keep only 1 or 2. That's again you're consuming less. You take anything. You can calculate yourself how much you are reducing. It's in your hand. If you are consuming less, yes, you are contributing to it. So it's something government, the pollution control board can't change. It's just a mindset change has to happen, revolution has to happen. Then only you can give justice to This is our nature and so is selling at 5 minutes. I am closing with before 5 minutes. Okay, so you can have interact clarify a few things in 5 minutes. Any general questions? Yeah.
So there is a rumor regarding the electric vehicles.
Yeah.
That they say that actually electric vehicles, or creation of electric vehicles is more dangerous than these petrol or diesel vehicles. Is this true?
Yes, there are a lot of research is coming that how to, there's a life for the battery. Okay, that's how we are discarding it. Even the same thing with solar panels also. There is a life for the solar panels. The huge solar energy is coming about. Things keep changing, dynamic process. Okay, this is something happens. A lot of issue comes about e-waste management and all these things. Yes, again this will create another problem. Whatever the alternative you think today, this will be a burden down the line after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. This is a known thing. We have to keep. That's why this is a dynamic process. This is not a static one. It's something you have to keep shifting into this more. The alternative is something have a less impact. Judiciously, you have to make a decision. Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, actually, when telling you said that you mentioned one point use only one color shirt rather than multiple shirts.
You are using it, yeah.
Yeah. My point is here. So if you use a single color shirts or a single color whatever things, so the industry is going to die.
Everything is industry driven. Yeah.
So our industry is going to die because of the industry, our Indian GDP is mainly depend on the majority of the industry. So how we are going to address this point, sir? And also one more point, our government is conducting this awareness program for all the faculty, but our government not initiating ban mosquito liquid is supporting the industry also. So how are you going to address this point and this clarify?
Yeah, this is something very complex. Okay, you can debate it for hours. As I was in a school, I was blaming MLAs. Okay, they are corrupt elected MLAs. Okay, then I was going to college. Then I was started thinking it's bureaucrats. They are correcting the system. Then I understood how the corruption level. Then I went to judiciary. Okay, they are cleaning up both the pillars of the democracy. Then I understood how judiciary is interacting. Then the last decade or something like the media, fourth pillar of democracy. Then I thought like they're exposing these three pillars of democracy. Then I realized how more corrupt they are compared to the other three pillars. Now the fifth pillar is coming, which is invisible, which is ruling the world. No. Which ruling the world? That's your question. Industry. Capitalist. I'm coming to the fifth pillar of whatever, which is invisible, but they're ruling all the four pillars, including everything. So how we can talk and find a solution to this?
They are supporting the industry.
I know.
They are creating awareness.
Export and import, every country wants to increase GDP. Export has to happen. Then only we can be classified as development.
We'll give you one trial also, one trial run. Okay, but the moment the music stops, we should stop picking. We should be honest about it. Okay, so we'll see how this goes about. Okay, we'll play some. So she's putting all the fishes. This is the pond. She's putting the fishes in the pond. Again, you can pick any color. So at the end of round 1, each one of you must have 4 cards with you. People who don't have 4 cards are going to walk away. Game. Okay? So even after I stopped making the sound, people were still picking. Okay? So Iga, how many cards do you have, sir? He has 4, madam has 3. You have 3, you have 2. Okay? So people who don't have, and then I'll ask them to leave. Okay, no, not now. It's just a try. Okay. So, itara attempts korta irtiri. Okay, we'll tell you, and then we'll also put in. There is nothing. So in the next round, we'll be putting 8 cards. But then you will have to run and pick the cards. Okay? Okay, so this is going to be not a dry run, this is going to be an actual game now. So ma'am, that is left to you because it's a strategy based game. Okay, at the end of each round, people who don't have cards will walk out. But if you leave the cards here, the cards will double. Okay, that is your game. Okay, we're going to begin. On your mark, set, 1, 2. No, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I'm actually playing.
Don't take.
You can pick. So we have 3 cards remaining. So Kavya is going to double them up. Okay. So until there are no fishes here, the round is going to continue. Yeah, you can correct more than 4. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Leave.
So we have 1 fish remaining in the pond. Yeah. So logically we've come to 12, 8 and 4. Now there will be no more cards put in. Okay? Now I'm going to start the beat, okay? On your mark, ready? Okay, so this will culminate at round 1. So whoever has less than 4 cards. Who has less than 4 cards? So you can come back and have a seat. All those participants having less than 4 cards. No exchanging. Please, you have to hold on to your cards. No redistribution. No redistribution. You have to hold on to your number of cards. No.
Sir. Actually, our strategy correct ಆಗಿದೆ ಸರ್ ಇನ್ನು strategy correct ಇದೆ follow ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ
We cannot share it with others. So we will have to 3 participants. Okay. Now it is round 2. Okay. Kavya is going to put 8 cards in the 8 fishes in the pond. Okay. The same rule applies. We are going to ring the music. They have to compete and get the objective. Okay. We're going to start after the fishes are in the pond. Ready? So there are no more fishes left in the pond. So she's going to add 4, half of it. Okay. Now, once again. So Kavya is now going to add 2 because no more fishes are left, half of it. Right? So she's going to add 2. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. So there's only 1 fish left in the pond. Okay? So this is the end of round 2. Okay? So now we're not going to add any more cards. You can yeah. So how many cards do you have in your hand? How many cards do you have? Eight. 11 cards. So we have 8 cards, which is a draw. So what we'll do is we'll put 1 more card here and we'll decide who gets to stay in this round. Okay? So you can just add 1 card. Okay? So now we can choose who stays in the game. We want only 2 participants to remain in the last round. Okay? Okay, now how many do you have now? How many do you have? 9. So they are. Huh? Yeah. Now we are going to go into round 3. So the she's going to add 4 more cards. Okay? Because if you had less than 8 cards, one of you should have walked out. You made a strategy, somehow you both are stuck. Okay, so she's going to add 4 more cards. And now I'm not going to tell you how many cards you should have to win this. Okay? So, also I'm not going to give a lot of time. I'm just going to be very quick. Okay, with this round. So there are no more fishes. So Kavya is going to add 2 more fishes to the pot. So right after this round, there will be no more cards added later. Okay, this is the final round. Okay? So how many cards do you have, sir? 10 cards. If you have less than 12 cards, you can take a seat. 12. Sir has got that. Okay. So she's going to pick 2 cards. You only have to have 1. And it's not a compulsion you can decide on this. It's not rule. Okay? So she's just going to add 2 more cards. This is the last one. Okay? Ready? 1, 2.
Madam, always fast.
1, 2. So 1. So since it's a draw, we're going to add 1 card. Okay? So when you are ready, okay. So please take a seat. So how many cards do you have? Ma'am has 13 and ma'am has 14. Yeah. Ma'am, you can still be here. So initially when we started as a group of 12, one rule here, fishes, we are going to put fishes in the pond, you have to fish them out. But I said any fishes that remains will double up. So if you had 12 members, we had 12 cards. Each of you had 1 card. If none of you picked a card, it would automatically become 24.
Yes.
And then if it is just like that, 24 cards, plus we are going to add 8 more cards to it, it's going to be 32. Right? Again, if you don't pick, again that doubles, and again we're going to add 4 more cards. So everybody would stay in the first round. Nobody would have gone out. So one of the group tried to do it, but then you saw that they are the ones who actually got penalized.
What intellectual.
So they somehow sort of figured it out. They had a nice strategy. Is it group 2?
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yeah, I know you have to keep a very keen eye on this. They come here with a mission. Okay? Alright. So, but then the same thing. So, the underlying principle, what we are trying to say is, when we have a collective conscience, or when we have a collective responsibility, we were talking about intergenerational and intragenerational responsibilities, when we use things mindfully, we leave some behind, which by automatically doubles. So we are talking, Mr. was talking about bore wells, they're not being replenished. After 25 years, we are now trying, which is not compensating. So the underlying principle is there is an element of greed in all this stuff. We are appropriating more than what we can have. So it goes back to that famous saying that says, Earth provides enough for all our needs, but not for all of our dreams. Okay. So this is one experience we wanted to demonstrate to you that through collective efforts, through collective initiatives, somewhere through strategies, we need to be sustainable in our whatever things we appropriate. Right? Okay, did you all enjoy the activity? Yes. And she's going to share a range of her observations and studies with her talk. I hope you enjoyed.
Good afternoon all. So today I will be talking about the impact of climate change on coastal ecosystem. Okay, so I think everybody who visited coastal area, or anyone who has not visited beaches, coastal area, I hope everyone. Yes or no? Yes. So we want to see our coastal area at this like this is what is our what do you think when we call beaches, the coastal area? What comes into our mind? And we don't want to see our coastal areas in this format, right? Because nobody wants to experience such things like coastal erosions or anything. So this is far better than this. So we need to think what is happening. And also this is one more image which is of aftermath of storm surge in Ullar area. And even the estuarine environments or the backwaters, we want to see it in this way. And we don't want to see it in this way, right? And also the mangroves. Mangroves is one of the ecologically sensitive areas and coastal areas. And we don't want to see our mangroves in this condition. So we need to take action in order to avoid whatever the scenarios I have shown. And also fishing. So once upon a time, even now there is scenarios, but most of the time when we look back, the fishermen used to catch a full boat of fishes. But nowadays most of the scenarios are like fishermen's written with no fish. Whatever the intended catch is decreasing. So what is this? So this is an impact of climate change. So climate change, it's like because of the increasing carbon dioxide, there are different things are getting affected. Like for example, sea surface temperature is rising, which in turn increases sea level also. And also it leads to coral bleaching. There is development of toxic algae, habitats, ocean acidification, and also it affects fisheries. So according to IPCC, that is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they describe climate vulnerability as the rate and magnitude of the climate change stressor. So climate change stressor will be like a rise in sea surface temperature or increased storm activities. So those will be the climate change stressor, and also the sensitivity of the system to the climate stresses, and also ability of the system to adjust to that particular climate change, that is adaptation. So mainly we know the basic photosynthesis activity which is taking place in our ocean ecosystem, because most of the productivity we call ocean as a carbon sinking zone. So most of the carbon sinks in our ocean when we compare to land-based productivity and the ocean-based productivity. So there are two factors which drive these, which causes variation for these productivities. One is, I think you might have heard about ENSO conditions, El Nino, La Nina conditions, and also in Indian Ocean we have Indian Ocean dipole. So these factors are also affecting the productivity, and also they are playing a key role in the climate change. So can anybody tell what are the causes for sea level rise? I think you might have read about this.
Melting of ice.
Okay, one is melting of glaciers. Okay, another thing. Increasing temperature. So how this increasing temperature will contribute for sea level rise? Can anybody tell?
Increasing freshwater.
That is one reason. Maybe that is like a local change, relative change.
Soil erosion.
Soil erosion, okay. I mean, I'm talking in terms of how temperature is contributed to sea level rise.
Ice.
More rain.
Because of ice.
Greenhouse gases because of that.
Yeah, that may be one of the things.
Because of the increase of temperature.
Yeah, how increase of temperature causes sea level rise. Like there is one phenomena called as thermal expansion. Okay, so when water is heated up, it has a tendency to expand. So that is one more cause. So it means there will be more volume. Okay, so in the sea level rise also, then there will be the after effects of the sea level rise. So in the sea level rise also, we have two types. One is the relative sea level rise, which is a regional one, and there is global sea level rise. Global sea level rise is the volume of water in one ocean is going to affect in the another ocean. The regional is like something to that particular area. For example, in whatever the certain factors in Bangalore is causing sea level rise over there. It is not affecting in another part of the country. So that is that relative phenomena is causing over. So this is a map where it is a projected sea level rise of Kochi. If there is 1 meter sea level rise and 2 meter sea level rise. So you can see the most of if there is 2 meter sea level rise, the most of the Kochi area will be underwater. So this scenario is not very far away. It may occur if we continue our emissions in this range. And also this climate change, it is also impacting island. Have you visited any island? Yes. Yeah? St. Mary's Island. Yeah. That, and there are many small islands like Netrani Island in Murdeshwar you can find. Okay, so these islands are under threat. So what is happening with this islands are mainly the sea level is rising, and because of that the water level comes up and there may be a chances of these islands will get submerged. And also there is an island ecosystem also which will be affected by this sea level rise. And next comes the chloral bleaching. I think you might have heard about this chloral bleaching. So what happens in this chloral bleaching, as the sea surface temperature rises, the algae which is attached to the coral, it just expels from that. So the coral, it will turn into white color, and which means that it is not in a dead state, it is in a dying state. So if that stressed environment, if the stress continues, the coral can go into a dead state. There is a chances that coral can be revived also. And also next factor is eutrophication. Eutrophication, it is because of the excessive nutrient pollution. There will be more harmful algal blooms and also fish kills also. I think you might have heard about certain incidences, maybe in the coastal areas, in other areas also, where because of these harmful algal blooms, the toxicity level in the fishes will increase, and in turn if it is consumed by people also, they get sick and all those things. And have you seen this bioluminescence bloom? So these are the bioluminescence bloom, which was actually it was trending in our coastal Karnataka region. So people used to go in midnights to see this. So these are like nothing but these are the phytoplanktons, blooming of phytoplanktons. And during this process, there is an extensive nutrients input. The nutrients discharge will be more. Because of that, there will be a blooming, and there will be a certain chemical which is triggering these phytoplanktons to emit light. So because of that, these are bioluminescence, and these are considered as like threat. So it is like, I can say it is a beautiful looking disaster actually. So it's a man-made disaster. It looks beautiful because I can give an example in Bangalore. Even in midnight, people were crowded in beaches to see this. And everyone were like clicking selfies, everything. But they doesn't know what has happened. We are responsible for this condition. And it has got severe negative impacts also. The fisheries of that particular region will be affected, and also the water quality is also degraded in that area. And also mangroves, mangrove ecosystem. So you know, mangrove, it acts as a buffer zone between the sea and the land. The main the thing about mangroves are like, you need to protect mangroves in order to save from cyclones. Yes. Because you know, it acts as a barrier. So whatever the cyclone which is hitting our coast, it will hit the mangroves, and whatever the strength of that cyclone will be reduced, and then the impact also will be reduced on our land areas. And also it has got different advantages, like it will reduce erosion. So there will be sediment trapping in that place, and also you know, shellfish. So in most of the mangrove regions, you can find this, and if there are no mangroves, there will be no shellfish also. And also recycling of nutrients, and also it's a place for breeding and nesting grounds for many fisheries, like maybe birds also and other fishes also. This is the overall distribution of mangroves. So West Bengal and Gujarat being the highest in our Indian region. And next one is the estuarine systems. Estuarine systems, it is a zone between the river and the, in a simple words, it's a meeting place of sea and a river. Okay, where there is the fluctuations in salinity varies. So what happens if we are going to affect this estuarine system? Suppose there, if the discharge of river is less. So if the discharge of the river is less, discharge of water, so what happens? Salinity will increase, and the salt in water intrusion will take place. And so that will be one of the negative impact of this estuarine system, because most of the marine species, it is mainly dependent on this estuarine conditions, and also our mangroves also, because mangroves grows in the estuaries. And next one is cyclones. You know, previously I think it is very rare to hear about cyclones in Arabian Sea, right? But nowadays every year we are hearing about cyclones in Arabian Sea. Before that, only in Bay of Bengal we could hear in Odisha or Tamil Nadu, Andhra, there were cyclones. But now there is in Karnataka, Kerala, Gujarat, throughout our east, in our west coast also we are finding cyclones. So what will be the reason for this? One main reason is increase of sea surface temperature. So when we conducted a study to study what is the difference of sea surface temperature in Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, actually Bay of Bengal is more warmer than Arabian Sea. It was. Okay, but now what is happening? Oh, the reason is why Bay of Bengal is warmer, because you know there are major rivers which discharge a huge amount of water to Bay of Bengal. So what happens there? The water is a fresh water, like fresh water, and there is no mixing of these water takes place. So fresh water discharge, it settles on the top layer of the sea, Bay of Bengal. So that top layer, it is tend to increase very like at a very fast speed. In the sense, the when you compare the density also, the salt water will be in the lower stratification. It will be stratified. The first layer will be mixed with the fresh water, and next will be the salt water. So there is no mixing of this. The churning won't take place. But the scenario is different in Arabian Sea. What happens in Arabian Sea is like there will be thorough mixing of these the water. The stratification will be broken by winds, and we have during southwest monsoon there is upwelling which is taking place in our coastal area, and even during during the winter monsoon also in the northern part of that is off Gujarat coast also, the temperature will decrease, and then there will be mixing, so that the productivity is more in Arabian Sea when we compare to the Bay of Bengal. But because of increase in sea surface temperature, the frequency of the cyclones has been increased in our Arabian Sea. And coming to this fisheries sectors, so fisheries also most of the people in coastal areas are dependent on fishing as their main occupation. So whatever the changes in the sea surface temperature or productivity, it is directly affecting the livelihood of these fishermen. So main thing is decline in fish stock. There are certain species which have been declined, like there is no catch of certain species, and also there will be increased for example, there are two main catches, that is Indian mackerel and oil sardine. Indian mackerel, because Karnataka and Kerala coast is called as a mackerel coast. So here the Indian mackerel catch was higher once upon a time. But what happened, because of the changing condition, the catches started to decline. The mackerel, it has got a lives in a the temperature should be less for that particular species to survive.
So it is migrating towards the cooler water, like it is going off north, because as the latitude increases, the sea surface temperature will decrease. So it is either it is going off Gujarat coast, or else in oil sardine, what is happening is it is spotting in the other regions where it is not supposed to be spotted. So that is happening here. And also these Indian mackerel and oil sardine, the catch is actually inversely proportional. When the Indian mackerel catch increases, the oil sardine will decrease. So it depends on the sea surface temperature and also the El Nino conditions also. So during 2015 there was strong El Nino condition, and the overall fish catch declined. It went up to mid 2016. After mid 2016, the condition came back to normal, and there was a La Nina condition which started prevailing, and then there was a normal catch. And this is an image which shows the fishermen from our Karnataka region. They go up to Ratnagiri, and down they go up to somewhere near to the Kerala coast. So this is the fishing grounds of Karnataka. And also changes in the marine life migration, as I told you. They go in search of food, wherever the food availability is more, and the temperature also. So cooler temperature means more food availability. So they go into those regions, and also there are other factors also which causes maybe the current movement or the winds and dissolved oxygen also. This is called as Kargil fish. Kargil fish, it is not, we cannot consume that particular fish. This is what is happening in our coast is like this. One time, the reporting of this fish catch was higher. Like they go for certain, they go to catch certain species, but they return back with this species. That means that maybe because of the change in current direction, they are tend to be in some other region, and they have moved towards our region. And this particular fish, it comes in tons together. Like if you have seen in these harbors, the fishing harbors, they were in full boats. These fishes are, and the cost of this fish, they need to send it to a fish meal or fish meal plants. So the cost is just 10 to 12 rupees per kg. So it's like the fishermen never got benefit of this. And this fish is toxic also. There is toxicity with this fish, and there is a certain release of gases also. And it is very slippery environment. It causes very slippery environment, which is dangerous for fishermen also. And next one is increasing jellyfish blooms. If you go to certain coastal areas, at certain after post monsoon, if you go there, you can find this blooming of jellyfish. Mainly jellyfish, it needs nutrients, and jellyfish can sustain an increased sea surface temperature. So one thing, the jellyfish is an indicator for climate change. There was the spottings of jellyfish bloom, but nowadays the frequency has been increased. So, the spotting was there, but the frequency has been increased, and this jellyfish, it act as it will feed on larvae of other fishes. So what happens? There will be decline in fish catch also, and because of overfishing, the predators of this jellyfish will be overfished. So they can tend to multiply their population also. So that is one more reason. And talking about Ghat section, so how to link the Western Ghats to our coastal areas? Both are interlinked. So whatever the rivers which originate from our Western Ghats, it drains into Arabian Sea, or it drains into Bay of Bengal. So here, maybe last few years we have witnessed lots of flood events in our Kodagu, Chikmagaluru districts. So main thing is, the main reason is here, whatever the grasslands, it has been converted into plantations. So grasses used to hold the soil, but this plantation, it cannot hold the soil, and the marshy lands were converted into paddy. So that is mainly there was a change in land use pattern. So because of that, that is one of the reasons for this Kodagu floods. And also you can see these wild buffaloes. They are in some tea coffee plantations. So that means we have intervened their areas. And also there was a report by Kasturi Rangan. I think most of them will be aware of this report, which is neglected by our government, and which says that 37% of total area of Western Ghats is declared as eco-sensitive areas. So in Karnataka, it covers around 20,000 square kilometers. So you might have heard about certain activities which is going in our Western Ghats. It may be Etinode Yojane or any other hydro plants or things like that. So what happens is this unscientific way of development is leading to these disasters. So whatever the, if it is a mid of jungle, like a dense forest, you're going there with your JCBs and the lorries and other things, and you're using a dynamite to blast. So what will be the situation over there? So I think this has to be stopped, and they have falsely claimed EIA. The EIA regulations will come, environmental impact assessment, which has got lots of rounds where there is something called as public hearing also in that. I don't think so public hearing has been done in these cases, and because of that, the people in and around those regions are facing the trouble. So if I talk about just a brief about Etinola project, they are going to build weirs to all the 7 hollas over there, like small streams. So, and they are going to accumulate water and they are going to pump it, and it is called as a drinking water supply to the Kolar, Chikballapur and Bangalore, some northern part of Bangalore also they are going to supply water. But I don't think so it's a feasible thing, because we need to, instead of damaging what is there, we need to adapt to that situation. We need to have certain strategies. Suppose if we don't have water, we need to do rainwater harvesting practices, or we need to do any other techniques where we can increase our water resources. It's not about damaging our ecosystems like this. Suppose if we say the same thing with the political people, I don't think so they are going to listen these concerns. And this Kodagu floods also, here the major thing what happened, one more thing was like there was the stream network was damaged. There was certain streams which was flowing towards Arabian Sea, and now it is flowing towards Bay of Bengal. So there was the diversion of these streams were taken place, and whatever the most of the waters, they are flowing through Lakshman Tirtha and Kaveri, and then they are joining Bay of Bengal. So and also there was a huge amount of slush, and the sand also was brought into sea because of these floods. And also there was streams got changed after the landslides, and some of them even may vanish because there was influx of lots of silt and clay. So the stream may vanish in times also, and the water got diverted as the gravity. Because of the gravity, it got diverted also. And to talk about all these, like whatever I have told, like climate change stresses are sea level rise. So sea level rise, it is going to affect our ocean, the estuarine shores, and also the wetlands, estuarine open waters, and the species. So there will be lots of things like there will be increased salinity, there will be a saltwater intrusion also. If you go to coastal areas, because of the saltwater intrusion, most of the wells are the salinity has been increased. So what is happening in these scenarios? It's like these drinking waters are it is getting saline, and it is nowhere. It cannot be used for our future also. And also increases in sea surface temperature. It can lower the oxygen levels, increased algal blooms, and there will be increased species mortality rates also, which will be taking place. And there is altered timing of seasonal changes. That is like male baruva time ge male baralla. It's like there are timing. So you need to have a certain river discharge also for these ecosystems to survive. So when there is no water coming through the estuaries, there will be lots of reactions taking place in that estuarine environment, and you don't have that much of sediment input also. Okay, so that is also affecting, and also there will be more invasive species also because of the ballast water which is from the ships also. That also can cause the invasive species over there. And adaptations, the main thing is we need to maintain and restore our wetlands, maintain sediment transport, and also preserve coastal land, maintain shorelines. Invasive species management has to be done, and also maintain the water quality. So the different adaptation options for different climate stresses, which is already addressed. One is sea level rise. Sea level rise, if you want to adapt to that, you need to allow coastal wetlands to migrate inward. That means the inward migration should be there. And also you need to have a beach nourishments also. And if there is increase in like a sea surface temperature, then there should be plans to restore and preserve our mangroves also. So everything is affecting. If your sea level is rising or the temperature is rising, everything is affecting. And also the changes in storm intensity. Even that is also a climate stressor. So we need to use certain breakwaters, natural breakwaters, or so that to dissipate the wave action, and also it will it will protect our coastlines. And also main thing is like management of our mangroves for this the storm activity, because if mangroves are there, it will protect our coast. And coming to fishing sector, we need to introduce, we need to reduce carbon footprint of our fishing sectors also, because most of the boats, they are using kerosene or any fuels which will in turn damage like our ecosystems also. So what happens here is like there can be a solar powered the fishing boats also. Even that can be a way for this to reduce our carbon footprint. And also use of satellite technology. Suppose if a fisherman is going for fishing, they randomly go. Some people are experienced and they know in which region the fishes are there. Suppose if we make use of satellite technology, and if we give them the potential fishing zone maps and where the fish availability will be more. When you compare the non-advisory maps and the PSZ maps, the fish catch will be more in those regions. So what happens there? One, time will be saved, and one more, the fuel will be saved. So in turn, the carbon footprint will be reduced. So here in India, we have Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, that is INCOIS, who is providing these data to fishermen. Like on daily basis, they are providing these data. So wherever the fish availability is more, they are going to send they are going to send messages, or there is mobile applications where they can just log in, and it is available in all regional languages, and they will get the exact lat and long of that region, and directly they can go for fishing in those regions. And in the coming, I am going to show you one video which is of EMPRI. We have worked on Karnataka State Action Plan on climate change. So in that we have used a model which is representative concentration pathway. Okay, so that is a RCP model where different scenarios has been taken. So RCP 2.5, where the global temperature is below 2 degrees Celsius. So those scenarios, and if it is RCP 8.5, that is a worst case scenario. So where the scenarios where the temperature may increase by 5 degrees Celsius. So that I'm going to show you right now. So how this is just so why we need to maintain the emissions at the current level. So these are the certain facts and figures where the sea surface temperature from 1951 to 2015 there was 0.7 degree Celsius rise in temperature, that is a global rise. And also if we consider our Indian Ocean scenario, there was about 1 degree Celsius rise on average during this period. And the mean sea level, it was increased by around 0.2 meter between 1901 to 2018, that is from IPCC report. And also there are other models which are predicting that if there is rise in the tropical Indian Ocean SST, that is by 1.2 to 1.6 degrees Celsius. So you know what will happen if there is such a rise in sea surface temperature, which will have a drastic impact on our ecosystems. This one I'll come back to later.
Effects of greenhouse of this century have impacted natural and human systems. Effects of greenhouse gases and climatic changes are already resulting in the gradual global warming. Global climate is expected to warm 1.4 to 5.8 degrees Celsius over the century. Due to changes in climatic variables, possible impacts may include coastal inundation, health risk, increase in heat waves, droughts, floods, cyclones, wildfires, vector-borne diseases, epidemics, coastal erosion due to sea level rise, ecological degradation, biodiversity loss, monsoon irregularity, etc. Impacts of climate change in Karnataka state. Clearance of forests for cultivation in earlier decades has a lasting adverse impact on the carbon sequestration potential, high variability in spatial and temporal distribution of rainfall over the state. The state has experienced climate hazards like a series of droughts 2012 to 2019 as a result of deficit rainfall, prolonged dry spells due to flood 2013 to 2020, landslides 2017-2018. The state has almost 80% of its area susceptible to drought, 22% of the area prone to moderate earthquake, 24% of the area prone to cyclones and heavy winds, and approximately 30% of the state's slopes prone to landslides. Impacts of climate change on these sectors. Agriculture sector. Agricultural production in the state has been varying from the year 2000 due to the changes in the weather parameters. Reasons for decline are attributed to shrinking land-man ratio, depleting vegetation cover, inadequate and unpredictable water resources, high dependence on rainfall, and increasing production costs. Variations in the weather parameters have major impact on agronomic operations, growth response of a crop, and its performance. The crop models predict gain loss in productivity, resulting in the extinction of a few local varieties and traditional varieties like paddy, banana, mango, and vegetables, etc. Animal husbandry sector. The increased incidence of floods constitutes a potentially weaker immune system of animals, leading to more incidences of diseases and lower productivity, an increased occurrence of vector-borne diseases. Coastal and fisheries sector. Climate change would impact fishery-based livelihoods among coastal communities as a result of sea level, which may result in the imminent danger of erosion of few islands, erosion of coasts, and increased incidence of toxic algal blooms and shellfish poisoning, and destruction of coastal infrastructure. Water resources sector. Karnataka is experiencing a decline in net annual groundwater. The climate change impacts on stream flow and water availability were analyzed at selected locations using the climate projections under two scenarios, RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5. Overall, the projected mean annual rainfall in the state under the RCP 4.5 scenario is likely to increase by 5.16% and 10.55% during 2021-2040 and 2041-2060 respectively. Under the RCP 8.5 scenario, it is likely to increase by 8.85% and 17.24% during 2021-2040 and 2041-2060 respectively. According to the KSNDMC 2020, it is observed that the quantum of annual rainfall is increased in South Interior Karnataka and Malnad regions and decreased in North Interior Karnataka and coastal regions. Although the annual rainfall is likely to increase in the state, the distribution of the rainfall is known to be changing with the increase in the extreme precipitation events. Health sector. Climate change affects the social and environmental determinants of health. Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress. Vector-borne diseases are highly sensitive to climate change, and the prevalence of major diseases like malaria, dengue, cholera, typhoid, etc. Forestry sector. Anthropogenic factors and incidences of natural calamities like wildfires, floods, and landslides affect the forest structure and sustenance. The impact of climate change on forests in Karnataka is assessed using latest Codex Regional Climate Model under two RCP scenarios, RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5 for 2030s and 2080s respectively, and a dynamic global vegetation model. Vegetation change is projected for grids falling in the districts of Bijapur, Raichur, Koppal, Bellary, Chitradurga, Kodagu, and Hassan districts, which means that the future climate at such locations would not be suitable for the existing vegetation and biodiversity. The Karnataka State Action Plan on Climate Change reported that around 38% of forest area in the state would be hit by climate change by the 2030s, which will lead to the loss of 33% biodiversity in the Western Ghats by 2050. Energy sector. The impacts on energy sector are rather indirect, as regulation of indoor temperatures require the use of air conditioners and other gadgets. The impact of this sector is additional expenditure on their manufacture and supply requirements, which once again demands further energy. This may lead to impacts on the state economy. Effects on livelihood due to climate change may include variation in intensity and distribution of the monsoon, which will negatively impact the livelihood. Heavy rainfall over a shorter season may lead to frequent floods and droughts. Changes in temperature and rainfall may have long-term impact on agricultural productivity, causes changes in breeding, migration, and distribution of many species, becomes a strong factor in uncontrolled migration of populations from climate-sensitive regions to the regions with lesser impacts. Building the capacity for societies to adapt to climate change is a key challenge for all communities and government.
I think it is time for us to take action on this. So if we educate our students, so at least our upcoming future will be safe. And as we have mentioned, stress to our environment. I think it's time for government to get certain rules so that they can regulate or monitor the factories or the industries in and around the coastal ecosystem. Thank you. So this is like if we cut the pollution sharply today, we may not see this in our future.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದು ಮುಗಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಬೋದು ಆಯಿತಾ. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸಿರೋ ಲಿಂಕಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣವೇ ಸೊ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಅನ್ ಅ ಪೇಜ್ ವೇರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್
Okay. Okay. So in this page you will get register, training schedule, training status, sign in page. You will get a note. So after closing this registration page will open. So you have to enter your title, name, last name, gender, district, university, college, email ID. So email ID you have to mention it correctly because you will be getting a OTP and user ID and password also. So you have to cross check twice your email ID and then under type you have to mention as a master trainers. Okay, so for the 3 days training it's a master trainers. You are all as a master trainers you have to select the master trainer. So then click on submit. Okay. So once you click on the submit, anybody has not yet registered, please tell me your details. So I will enter in live and I will show it to you. Yes, sir, please. Sir.
Lakshmi Narayan Reddy.
Lakshmi Narayan Reddy.
That is title.
Doctor.
Professor.
Mr.
Sir, correct?
Narayana NA. B. Initial B.
B or?
B.
B for Bangalore.
Bangalore.
Okay. District?
Bangalore.
Bangalore. University, sir?
University board DD.
University.
Bangalore University is actually.
Bangalore.
Then training ಎಲ್ಲ Bangalore University.
College ಯಾವುದು ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ಮದು?
MEI Polytechnic. Board ಅಲ್ಲ. L.N. Reddy MEI. @gmail.
Correct. So after entering your email ID, you have to select master trainer and then click on submit. So once you click on submit, you will get a confirmation page. So where you can check your details again before submitting the information. So first name, last name, and university, college name, email ID, and typo. Okay. So after everything is correct, then you have to click on submit all and verify. So you will get a OTP to your mail ID, sir. Please tell me. Submission is successful and you have to go back to home page. So you will be getting user ID and password to your email ID. Okay. So after getting your email ID and user ID and password, you have to click on sign in. So here I am entering my user ID. And then password. So you cannot change your password. Okay. So once whatever you will get it in your email ID, that will be the final password. So we cannot change it. Okay. If you did not able to log into your page, so you have to call us back. So from backend team, we will verify and we will give it to your user ID. So after entering your user ID and password, you have to click on empty, means master trainer, and then select submit. So we will be marking your attendance. So after that you will get attempt pre-test. Okay. So you have to attempt a pre-test after clicking on attempt pre-test. Okay. So after that these activities. So activity will be like in your college, your student might conduct any activities in a group activity. So regarding that you have to update, like whether it is an individual activity or list of uploaded activity, you have to upload it. Okay. So whatever the activity they might have conducted, there will be in a space which activity you have conducted, and like you will be having space to upload the photos, videos, or any other documents. Okay. So certificate, the certificate is yours only. So soon after finishing this training, after third day, so after finishing your post test. Okay. So attempt post test. After that, you will get your certificate in application only. So you no need to go and ask anyone like for your certificate. You will get after finishing your post test. Okay. So there is one more icon, selfie booth. You can take your picture with the CEE, UNICEF and Karnataka logo will be there. So you can take your selfie booth photo also. So feedback. So there is a set of questions for the feedback, like how you the training, like quality and the venue, and regarding your session. So there is a feedback form. So you have to submit your feedback form also. Okay. So under resource, you will be getting resource material to teach your college students. So it will be uploaded here. So you no need to go and ask anyone. So you will get directly in a TMS only. So you have to download it from here and you can teach to your students. And FAQ, so it's like some common frequently asked questions. If you have any like normal questions, so the common questions. So you will get set of question here regarding the TMS, how I have to log in, how I have to register. So if you have any technical issue, you can check here. If you did not get your questions answer here, so you can directly contact to CEE, to me or any of our team, so we will guide you. So this is all about TMIS. So once you complete your training, so you will get one more icon here, attendance. Okay. So whenever you plan to conduct session at your college, so you will you have to submit your student list. Before submitting student list, the student has to register under TMIS. So that list you have to submit to us. From the backend, we will create a batch. Okay. So once we create the batch, you will be getting an icon here like attendance marking. Who has attended your session? So we have to mark them as a present or absent. So as usual, you have to update in that. So that icon will come here after finishing this training. So is there any questions regarding TMIS?
I'm not able to give the pre-test,
Because we haven't yet marked you as a present. So once we mark you as a present, it will same applicable to your student also. If you mark them as a present, then only they can able to give the pre-test. Otherwise, they cannot give the pre-test. Okay. So soon after finishing your training, you have to activate post-test. Okay. As a master trainer, you have to activate post-test. Then only your student will get the post-test. They can submit. Otherwise, they cannot submit the post-test. Without post-test submission, you will not get your certificate. Yeah, that is the mandatory to submit your post test, so you will get a certificate.
Is there any criteria to get the certificate?
You have to submit your post test, sir.
Madam, he is not registered.
Yeah, you can register, sir, now. You have to register, it is a mandatory. So you cannot just ignore and go, because you have to take your attendance also from the TMIS only.
So as you all will realize, Rajeshwari ma'am is actually strict. You will not get away. You have to register and do a pre-test and a post-test also.
Yes, sir. Please register, sir. Then, right? It is like the same way.
We have another very interesting activity. It's about increasing handprint and reducing footprint. It's being conducted by Kavya, who's our colleague from CEE. Okay? So, ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಟೈಮ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಆದರೂ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ವಿತ್ ಡ್ಯೂ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಇದು ನಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತು ನಲ್ಲೆಯ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆ. ಓಕೆ, ನಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ನೀರಿರದಿದ್ದರೂ ಇರಬಲ್ಲೆ, ನೀನಿರದೆ ಇರಲೊಲ್ಲೆ ನಲ್ಲೆ. ನೀರಿರದಿದ್ದರೂ ಇರಬಲ್ಲೆ, ನೀನಿರದೆ ಇರಲೊಲ್ಲೆ ನಲ್ಲೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಲ್ಲೆ ರಿಪ್ಲೈ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀರಿರುವೆಡೆ ಮನೆಯ ಮಾಡೋ ನಲ್ಲ, ನೀರು ಬಂದಾಗ ನಲ್ಲಿಯ ಮುಂದೆ ನಿಲ್ಲುವುದು ನಾನು ನೀನಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್, right? So everything we can link some of these actions and we can find humor around us.
Regional Cell Bangalore. So today I'll be explaining about increase your handprint and decrease your footprint. So from morning in all the sessions this was discussed, carbon footprint. So everybody know what is carbon footprint? Does anyone know what is handprint? No, right? So we will be discussing that in this presentation, and till then you keep thinking what is handprint. I'll ask in the later stage. So I'll just briefly explain the basics of carbon footprint. So morning sir was discussing about what is carbon footprint. So can anyone say what is carbon footprint? Has a common man, like if you listen this word carbon footprint, what is carbon footprint? What is carbon footprint? Yeah.
Quantity of carbon we are giving to the environment or releasing to the environment.
Just a second, sorry.
Nothing but the total amount of greenhouse gases that is emitted in our day-to-day activities. So morning Shruti ma'am was explaining what are our day-to-day activities. So in the day-to-day activities, how much of carbon that we are emitting, the total amount is calculated, and that is called your carbon footprint. So sir was even telling about ecological footprint. So what is ecological footprint now? Anyone?
Indian ecosystem, how much of carbon is released from that ecosystem?
Okay.
Totally called as that ecosystem carbon.
No, actually.
Measures we are taking to reduce the releasing of carbon.
No. So it's nothing but the measure of demand made by a person or a group of person on a global natural resources. The demand that we are creating on the natural resources. So that is called ecological footprint. So the difference between the carbon and ecological footprint is nothing. It is a measure of carbon dioxide through our activities, and ecological footprint is a measure of renewable and non-renewable sources. So here only the carbon emission is taken into count, but here both carbon emission and the impact that we are doing on the ecosystem is together is called ecological footprint. So this has a direct impact on the climate change, the carbon footprint. The ecological footprint has direct impacts that continue till the earth exists. The impact is there for lifelong. So before coming to this, for the carbon to sequester, there are only two sinks. One is ocean, another one is forest. So now I'll only focus on the forest. So in the forest, the main source of sink is trees. So to sequester 1 ton of carbon, how many trees do we require? Anybody can answer. How many trees do we require to sequester 1 ton of carbon dioxide?
Any guesses? No penalties for wrong guesses.
1 tree.
1 tree. Okay. 1 ton of carbon dioxide to sequester, how many trees do we require? And an average. One answer we got. Anyone?
Some more, please.
Anyone would like to guess? 100. Okay. 10. So let's see the answer. A tree absorbs almost 22.6 kgs of carbon dioxide in a year. So to sequester 1 ton of carbon, we need 31 to 46 trees.
Which tree are we talking about?
It can depend on the further statistics. It depends on the trees related thing. For the hazard tree, generally we need 31 to 46 trees. Yeah, it depends. No, if the tree age goes on, at the younger age it will absorb more carbon. If the tree gets older, the carbon dioxide absorption rate also will decrease. At the maturity level, it absorbs more. So this is an example here. So if you have to sequester 4,700 kgs of your carbon dioxide from your transport industry, we need almost 208 trees. And to sequester your household related emissions, we need almost like 331 trees to sequester your carbon emissions. So now we are coming to handprint. So what is handprint? Anybody can guess?
Planting.
Yes, sir?
Planting.
Okay. I mean, what is that? You're planting a tree. What is that? It's called
Measures, what measures we are taking?
To reduce the
carbon emissions.
Steps we are taking. to
Okay,
reduce.
footprint. Yes. Yes, ma'am?
That's what measures or activities to reduce the footprint.
The action that you are taking to reduce your carbon emissions. Yes, that is called handprint. So handprint was started in 27 November 2017 by Center for Environment Education at UNESCO's 4th International Conference that was held in Ahmedabad. So this, from then on, since then, India is celebrating this as a Global Handprint Day. So 27th November is called as Global Handprint Day. So this handprint, as ma'am and sir said, it highlights about the positive actions that we are taking to reduce our carbon emissions, to create a sustainable lifestyle for our future generation. So I'll just show some glimpse of our Handprint Day celebration. We celebrated 10 years of Handprint Day. So you can see here, this person is our director and the founder of Center for Environment Education. His name is Shriyuta Karthikeyan Vikram Sarabhai sir. So he's the son of Vikram Sarabhai sir. So who's the founder and known as father of Indian Space Research Organization. So he's our founder, and this is some glimpse of our Handprint Day celebration that held. So this is our handprint logo. So it says handprint, an action towards sustainability. So there is a small story on this logo actually. There was a 10-year-old girl who attended our CEE project in Ahmedabad, and that there was an activity that was held in that. So they told all the school children to just draw something, that action that you would like to take to reduce your carbon. So that girl, what she did is, she has printed her handprint on the sheet and she gave. And someone found very interesting and expert and called her on stage and asked, what is this that you have done on the sheet? So the girl said that, this is my action. Today I am pledging with putting my handprint that I'm going to take actions to reduce my carbon footprint. That idea that she gave impressed the experts, and they made this logo. And she is the girl who gave this idea. And now today her handprint is known as, it's become she was 10 years old. Did our handprint thing, and they have implemented in their studies and research and even in the education system. And these are some of the organizations which they're using our handprint technology and the handprint initiatives in their studies. You can see research schools are there, research institutions are there. So if you want to know more about our handprint, you can visit our website. This is our website, www.handprint.in. There was a handprint calculator also. Now we are actually working on upgrading it, because that handprint calculator was made for the school kids. So now they are actually working on that to make for adults and college students. So I can go ahead? Yeah.
So all of these PPTs will also be shared
Yeah.
on the table.
On the dashboard it will be updated.
Eventually it will be made available to everybody.
So, have you ever wondered what is your carbon footprint? Have you ever tried to calculate your carbon footprint? Anyone here? No. So, let's do one activity here. So, we are using this website. It's called EPAM Carbon Footprint Calculator. Why we are using this only is because CEE.
How many of us teach the carbon footprint in our colleges? Anyone teaches? One, two people.
So even you can rise. Even in our department they teach. Yeah. So this is one website. There are many websites. I'll show other websites also. Why we are using this only website is because CEE has a collaborative project with EPAM. EPAM is an American company which mainly deal with development related, like engineering related aspect. So they have done this carbon footprint for their employees to know what is the carbon footprint so that they can take action then and there. So the website link and thing is there. I'll just show manually how to do your carbon footprint. So later that will be your home activity. So after going your home, you can calculate your carbon footprint. So you should. Browser and type EPAM carbon footprint calculator. So you can do it after going home because there is a network issue here, so we are doing it as a home activity. So the first link you can see here, this is the link that you have to click on. So you can see, what is it? I had a word for you, so I'll just show
This
there.
is called meticulous planning. Very nice. Thank you.
So, as I said, this is the first slide it will start. You have to press on start button. So the first sector it will show is the transport sector. So in the transport sectors, two slides will come up. Transport, the first question will be what type of transport did you use last month? So you can put what transport you use. It can be your bike or electric vehicle, bus, everything is there in the list. So you have to select one and press next. And the next question will be how much time did you take spending on that particular day? So how much hours you would have said I'm doing work from home or something. Or you can select on that work from home, or if you're going in the travel, in the bus especially, only for the bus it will take. So how much hours did you spend on computing your that day in the bus? And the third question will be, how much time did you spend on personal trips last month in the bus, mainly in the bus. So if you say I didn't went any of my personal trip, you can select this. I did not use this vehicle. So then if you was that in your personal trip and press next button. Will be basically checking the details of your resource consumption like water, electricity and things. This here. And the next question will be, how much electricity did you use last month? So when there is a consumption given, 253. So your consumption, individual consumption will be so much. And that consumption you have to enter there.
Number of households is number of people?
People. Household means one person. How many are there? 2, 3 or 5 like that. The next question will be, how much of water did you use last month? For the water, you have to same way. Your water bill you can check, and it will be written here. Your consumption in liters it will be there. So this is a formula you can use. Consumption in liters divided by number of households. Into 1000. Why I have put into 1000 is because the conversion factor from liters to cubic meters. It should be converted into cubic meters. So that's why into 1000. So your individual water consumption in cubic meters you can calculate. Next is food. So here you have to, just one question is there. What is your food preferences? It can be diet food or balanced food, both non-veg, veg, or only veg. Like that, options will be there. You have to select one in that and press next. Next is pets. Most of us will have pets in our house. So here you can see cat is there, dog, rodent, and if you press others, you have other pets also like rabbit, parrot, all this. So how many pets you have to select that and press next. Then comes your travel. So this travel consists of flight, train, all these things. So here you can see, here it is asking number of hours of your flight you took last month. If you say 0, you can keep it as 0 itself. Or if you have some flights that you have taken, or domestic or international, just put number of hours here. And then even the train also. So train journey, like how many hours you have taken. So you have to just put that hours and click next question. So then the next question comes is, how much of money you have spent on your personal travel in the last 1 month. So this, you can see questions here, travel agency, how much you have paid, hotel services, recreation services, all these questions will be there. This is in, because it is an American company, they have kept this in dollars. It is in the dollars. So that's why I have kept the calculation thing. So every time whenever you do, your calculation you'll be putting in your Indian rupees and that should be converted to dollars. So and the dollar amount you have to put here. And I have put the note here, convert the amount from Indian rupees to dollars. And $1 is 1 rupee is equal to, $1 is equal to 82.33 rupees. So convert that and you have to put. The next is goods. For the goods also same thing, you have to follow what you followed the previous question. Here also it is in the travel, you can see alcohol, soft drinks, tobacco products, how much you've spent. Textile, cloths, leather, plants and vanishes, paints and vanishes, rubber, glass products or electronic products, electronic equipments, or if you have bought anything. So you have to put that much of amount here and convert that to dollars. And same thing for the services also. So these are some questions that is there. So you have to put how much you have spent on all this. It should be your individual. Education is given here. You should not put your children's education expense. If you are doing anything apart from your college, if you have joined for any other courses, you have to put what expenses that you are putting on that. So at last you have to press on calculate. So this is how your result will be visible. So you can see here, this is the carbon emissions that per month I have, and each sectors has been displayed here. And here it shows one thing, that is to sequester this much of carbon I need 144 trees to reduce my carbon footprint. So this is one thing it is showing, and here if you press on this recommendations, it will show other recommendations for each sector. for the diet what you have to follow, and for the food, everything for each sector it will show different recommendations. You can follow all these recommendations to reduce your carbon footprint. Okay. So these are other websites which you can use to know your carbon footprints. Not only EPAM, you can go and visit other websites. In the Google, if you browse, you will get so many websites to calculate your carbon footprint.
Any of these is in the Indian currency?
Yes, so one is in Indian currency, this first one.
Carbon independent.
Tata also, tatapower.com, that is also Indian currency. But what is the problem is in the Tata only they're calculating the carbon emission from the transport industry. It is only there for the transport industry and electricity and things, how much you're spending, not all the sectors that is covered in the EPAM.
It's an incomplete calculation.
Yeah, it's only basic they're knowing.
Carbon independent.
You can visit any of this and you can see which is useful for you. So now, till now we discussed about carbon footprint and handprint. So I'll just say, as Sir said, at individual level we have to take steps to reduce our carbon footprint. What are the steps that we can take at the household level? So one, that when you're buying an electronic gadget, everyone say that just see the sticker that is put on that, how much of power it consumes. So seeing the power consumption, we have to buy it. If it is consuming more or less, seeing that we have to buy our electronic gadgets. Like use efficient LED bulbs. And also the compost, Sir was explaining, the kitchen waste can be compost instead of giving to the vendor, collector. And also recycling our plastic waste into creative things at home, like you can see in the Google, YouTube, there are so many videos from which we can make creative items, handmade items. And also fans, we should use more instead of AC air conditioners, and use recyclable batteries and things. And if you visit our website, if you go to handprint action, there if you go on the last part, it is blue color it has been given. If you press on that handprint action, if you go down, you can see this 25 tips to reduce your carbon emissions. This is in even other resource materials also you will find here about carbon increase and carbon reduction, what you have to take actions. So now it's handprint active. As I said, there was a calculator, but we are not able to use that right now. So what is the activity that I want you all to make is, so this was the activity even your previous batch also did. So they have put their handprint on the sheet, and they have written one step that they will take to reduce their carbon emission. One step, maybe planting a tree, or using a public transportation instead of using my private one. Like that, they have written their one action, and they've done their signature here, and they've done a pledge here. So you can see some photos here. Yeah, they're putting the handprint and they're writing their one pledge that they want to take, and this is how it is given. And the colors that is used is food colors. So don't worry, it is not a chemical base. Nothing will happen to your hand. Okay? So, before I end my thank you thing, I just want to share some experience that I have been. So I was saying that EPAM, we are collaborating with them. So on an environmental day, we do webinars for the employees to educate them on environment and climate, and making them a climate warriors. So that is the main project that we are dealing with them. So one presentation we were doing, and one of the employee of that asked us one question, and it was also a suggestion, both question and a suggestion. The question was, for an individual to sustain on this earth, how many houses that he need? How many houses does an individual need to live on this earth? One is enough. Everyone agree? Then why we will buy more than 1 and 2, 3?
Brothers, sisters.
Yeah. So if we buy only one house, it's more than enough, no, for us to live on this earth. Why we want more than 1 or 2, 3, 4 houses? This is how we are converting all our outside forest areas. Now Bangalore was so small before. Now if you see Bangalore, it has become so big. All the outer spaces where the forest was there, now we can't see the forest. Everything is now called as a peri-urban area. So this is the change that we are getting. And what suggestion he gave us was, whenever a person is going and claiming for his property thing in government office, increase his tax to double. So if you increase the tax double, with seeing the tax amount, he should get scared and he should say, no, I don't want another house. One house is enough for me. So this is what the suggestion that that employee gave, but he was from an engineering background. He's an engineer by profession, but he gave this. But he has a concern towards the nature. So that's what we get to know from him. Another example is there. When I was doing an interview, one expert told me that one of their family stays in Bangalore, and they wanted to construct a house in the Bangalore side, and they called an engineer to ask to design their house plan. So that lady of the house wanted a space in front of her house and the backyard to have a garden. So they asked the engineer for the suggestion. So how we have to plan, and what the engineer would have suggested her. You can guess. Why waste money? Okay. Space, yes.
Instead of wasting space, construct one more small room or house, you can give it for rent.
Yeah. This engineer also suggested in the same way that why to waste, ma'am, in Bangalore the property rate is so high, you are having this much site is great, and in that site you are constructing, you want a garden in front of you. Instead of that, construct the entire site with the house. Later you can have a small parts here and there for a decoration of your house. So that's what the engineer suggested. So that's why we are all here today, to educate every sector student about environment and climate education. So that when they come out of the college, they won't suggest like this to the public. Right? So by saying this, a 10-year-old girl can take an action to reduce her carbon footprint. Why not adults? We adults here. So that's why I would like to say that we can contribute to reduce our carbon footprint and offset our carbon and make India the carbon neutral. So also our Prime Minister has pledged in 6th that by 2070 we will become a zero emission country, right? So zero emission of carbon dioxide. So for that, we have to also support for the government by taking individual steps at our households. So with that, I would like to say thank you for everyone for your patience listening from 45 minutes. And I request everyone to bring your carbon footprint, and as soon as you come morning, at the registration, we will keep the handprint thing. You can give your handprint. Knowing your carbon footprint, what action would you like to take? You can just give your pledge to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavya. Just to add to Kavya's point, in some you also have something known as inheritance law. Suppose when you have to pass it on to next generation, 30% of it is direct government endowment. Only 70% is owned by your next, and that is again taxed with the capital gains and income tax. So people are finding it as a deterrence. So we have to be even innovative in terms of why are we holding so much, why are we consuming so much, to add to what Kavya was telling. Thank you so much. I hope you also enjoyed this carbon footprint. It also helps us reflect how we can make changes at an individual level. So that brings us to the end of day one's interaction, which was all about developing and understanding participant perspective on climate change, as well as we also touched upon some impacts. We also looked at some facilitative methods, how we can bring about this thing. I would like to quickly 4 volunteers. We had a couple of speakers. Mahesh sir spoke, Prithvi sir spoke, and then there were other 2 speakers. I want volunteers to just quickly summarize about one particular speaker, a very quick 4 points that they can take away from today. So I will start. This is voluntary, right? So I don't want to speak. Anybody can say. So